and welcome to the Carolinas Luxury Real Estate Podcast. For all those new to the podcast, please feel free to follow the link in this episode to our past seasons and explore all the great luxury real estate content. On today's episode, we are talking about the Coastal Q4 Market Report. I'm your host, Sam Sparks, and joining me to discuss this topic is Ryan Faro-Teague, the managing broker from the Wilmington office at Ivester Jackson Christie's. Thanks for joining me today, Ryan.
Hey, great to be here, Sam.
Absolutely. We're glad you could make it on the show today. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Ivester Jackson Coastal?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm originally from New York City. I was born and raised there and stayed through college. I moved to Charlotte while working in the hospitality industry for Hyatt Hotels. I was in operations management and ran the front of the house and really enjoyed that for a while. It was while living in Charlotte that I got into real estate and really developed a passion for general brokerage and the real estate business as a whole. Once I'd built my business up a bit, I started the boutique firm and ran that for a few years. And then the opportunity to work with Ivester Jackson came about. I knew some of the agents and leadership team, and after my initial meeting with our owners, Reed and Lori, I knew this is what I wanted to do next. We have a really great team with such diverse professional backgrounds. And it's really interesting to see our agents weave their experiences into the fabric of their real estate practices. So I'm really happy to be here, truly.
Wow. What a path to real estate, huh?
Yeah.
That's generally how it goes. I feel like it's never just one way to get there. Everyone's got a fun little path that weaves around, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and jump on into it then. So now that the national media has been reporting that luxury market sales are down significantly, yet we're also hear positive stories about the coastal market. What are the actual facts right now in terms of the luxury real estate market in and around Wilmington?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sam. Real estate is rarely one size fits all, especially when speaking about the real estate market on a national scale. General conditions like interest rates, inventory, buyer and seller, behavioral patterns, and so on are more universally measurable. However, the ways in which local markets respond to those conditions often differ significantly. The luxury market in Wilmington is actually very robust. The last 3 years have seen a historic spike in luxury transactions. More specifically, the $1 million to $2 million range and $2 million plus categories have seen unprecedented sell-through figures that triple what we saw just a few years ago in 2019. When comparing Q4 2021 to that of 2022, Figure 8, Porter's Neck, and Hampstead saw a 25% increase in that same category. Also, I think this is very interesting. Atlantic Beach and Emerald Isle realized only one closing over $2 million in the fourth quarter of 2021 and 3 in Q4 2022. Holden Beach and Oak Island went from just one transaction over $2 million in Q4 21 to 5 in the fourth quarter of 22. So there's really no disputing it. The luxury segment in the Wilmington market really does remain strong.
Wow, that's great. And I mean, you kind of touched on it already. There are also different price points in Wilmington, right? Such as, below $1 million range, and then the ultra luxury market.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll call the $500,000 to $1 million the mid-market, $1 million to $2 million the luxury market, and $2 million plus the ultra luxury market. That $1 million and below market has surprisingly shown a decrease almost across all of the Wilmington market, while the higher price points have seen consistent growth. So sure, home values increase, and those properties that were teetering on the cusp of breaking the $1 million mark could have transitioned into the next category. But the data indicates a pattern that runs deeper than that. I think that's largely due to the trends in the financial markets, which continue to see levels 3 times greater than those of 10 years ago. And luxury real estate remains a stable investment and one that buyers are not shy about adding to their portfolios.
Yeah, agreed. That's a great investment. So how did the close of 2022 compare to prior years and pre-COVID environment?
2022 left us with some pretty interesting data. Previous years saw trends that were a bit less dramatic, and 2022 exemplified the growth in the luxury and ultra luxury segments. 2022 ended pretty differently than where it started. Inventory, average days on market, interest rates, and the shift from an extreme seller's market to a buyer's market were certainly noteworthy, to say the least. That change happened in really what felt like the blink of an eye. To answer the latter part of your question, the pre-COVID environment was a healthy one. Money was cheap to borrow. We saw a handful of years with 30-year conventional mortgage rates in the 3.25% to 4% range. Inventory was available. Material costs hadn't yet skyrocketed. Financial markets had a great run. In the 4 years leading up to the pandemic, the Dow Jones Industrial saw three unbelievable years. 2016 saw a nearly 13.5% increase. 2017 was a bit over 25%. 2018 had a slight dip of just 5.5%. And then 2019 saw gains of nearly 22.5%. Economically, a business cycle has four stages, right? Expansion, peak, contraction, and trough. The average economic cycle in the United States lasts roughly 5.5 years since 1950. The pre-pandemic market experienced one of the longest business cycles in American history, spanning from June 2009 to February 2020. That's double the length of time of a normal business cycle. With all that in mind, it's safe to say that the handful of years prior to the pandemic consisted of a strong combination of economic factors, which resulted in a robust economic conditions and thereby an equally robust housing market.
Wow, that's a great answer. There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
So, do you think the factors that drove higher sell-through during COVID are here to stay?
Yeah, that's another really good question, Sam. Sell-through is an interesting metric as it, compares inventory to the number of units sold. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we experienced historically low inventory with historically high demand, plus the cost of money was so reasonable during that period of time. This combination really created the perfect storm, if you will, to result in an extremely high sell-through figure. As we just discussed, there were pre-pandemic market conditions that really set the stage. Now I think the market is stabilizing nicely. Days on market are reasonable, inventory is opening up, although it's still lower than the norm. Interest rates spiked to battle record inflation figures and then took a very welcome dip back into the 5.5% and 6% range. So while the market is certainly different in a post-COVID era, the factors that cause such high sell-through seem to be leveling off in a positive way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're seeing that here in Charlotte too. I mean, I'm obviously more, mid-market stuff, but I mean, with those interest rates going back up, their houses are sitting now on, in inventory a little bit longer than they were. People aren't, they're just not going out there to buy at the moment as much, but clearly they are in ultra luxury and other markets for sure.
Yeah, it gives folks a chance to really just, look and not have to go in on day one and commit to, $700,000, $800,000 purchase in a 15-minute time slot. They have an opportunity to negotiate favorable terms and have a look and see some options before committing. So I think it's, going the way it should be. It's getting healthy again.
Yeah, agreed. I like a healthy market.
Yeah.
All right. So, beyond the appeal of the coast, what's driving the large increase in interest in this area? I know Wilmington has a lot to offer.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Wilmington's just a really awesome place to live. I'm a transplant myself, having lived in New York and Charlotte, and I can attest to how much we enjoy living here. I read an interesting statistic recently. According to the United Van Line's annual National Movers Study, Wilmington was the top destination for those moving in 2022. In fact, Wilmington has been ranked in the top 10 of this same study for the last 3 years. Wilmington's just shy of 2 hours from Raleigh, 3 hours and change to Charlotte. Many folks in those markets frequently vacation to Wilmington or have second homes here. The changes experienced in the general workforce in terms of remote working options allowed people to reinvent their daily lives without disrupting their professional ones. And obviously, many of them have chosen and continue to choose Wilmington to be home base. We have a thriving historic downtown, a vibrant restaurant scene, a great river walk, concert venues, theaters, pristine beaches, and coveted golf courses, all within a 20-minute radius. Plus, the weather tends to be a bit warmer, and that's rarely a bad thing.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Warmer weather is always welcome. Well, yeah, I mean, we've done a few podcasts with Wilmington, and I just keep learning more and more about it. And, if I could convince my wife to go live closer to the beach, I think I'd be there in a heartbeat. I tell you. There's a lot.
Well, if you're looking to buy a house, I think we know a person or two that can help you.
Just a few people might be able to help out.
Absolutely.
So switching gears, what about the other barrier islands? Which ones are seeing heightened interest? For example, Carolina and Cure's, closest proximity to Wrightsville, driving those values up at a rapid pace and spurring infill activity.
I think many areas that have experienced significant interest and growth over the last few years are probably seeing pretty similar patterns. When the main attraction, in our case, Wrightsville Beach, gets so expensive and unattainable to the masses, folks begin to look outward. We talked earlier about what's going on Figure 8 and Porter's Neck, Hampstead, Atlantic Beach, Emerald Isle, Holden Beach, and Oak Islands. They're all seeing growth in larger numbers. When comparing Q4 2021 to that of 22, Carolina and Curie Beach saw a 50% increase in closed transactions between $1 and $2 million. Interestingly, the $500,000 to $1 million range saw a 32% decrease. I think that fact speaks volumes to the very essence of the question. The barrier islands are in fact seeing increased property values, steady demand, and all that speaks directly to their heightened interest.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. If there's not something on the beach, you got to go in a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Ryan. Well, I appreciate those awesome answers. Now it's time for the lightning round portion of the podcast. You ready to go?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's go. What book would you like to live in?
What book would I like to live in? Oh, I think Harry Potter would be awesome to live in. What a magical world. If I could wave a wand and just have the house of my dreams, just appear, that would be pretty awesome.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
All right. What's an underrated skill everyone can benefit from?
Being understanding. I think that being able to analyze things from a different perspective, I like to look at situations. I picture everybody in a situation sitting at a table, and I like to sit in the different seats around that table. And I think it's an important skill set to be able to see things from perspectives outside of your own to really gain thorough understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Does that borderline also go with emotional, emotional intelligence, EQ? So understanding and empathy kind of the same there? I don't know.
Absolutely. It's a fine line, being able to understand your own position, your own thoughts and processes while being able to do the same thing on behalf of somebody else to really paint a full picture for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one for sure. So what's the weirdest thing you have in your fridge right now?
Acai that I bought that I haven't done anything with at this point. So I'm not quite sure what to do with it exactly. So I just kind of leave it there.
There you go. I hear it's good in yogurt and some shakes.
Yeah.
All right. This is a good one. So what's one of the biggest risks you've taken in your career, and how did you feel after you took it?
I quit my job at Hyatt Hotels the day I closed on my house. So I was sitting at the closing table. I had wanted to take my real estate class, and my bosses at the time at Hyatt Hotels were not willing to let me have the 2 days off a week, Tuesday and Wednesday, mind you, which were very easy days to have off in the hospitality industry. So I scheduled to take my class for real estate licensure. And when the deed recorded for my house, I asked the attorney, I said, is it mine? Is the mortgage company going to do an employment verification? And she said, no, it's all yours. And I hit send on an email that said, to whom it may concern, I resign effective immediately.
Well, you played it right, because you can't do that before you close on the loan.
Nope, exactly. So that was a really big risk, having just made the biggest acquisition of my life. Thus far, I was 24 years old at that point, while, within 30 seconds also quitting my job and going into 100% commission business.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big one, I would say. Well, congratulations. Clearly it panned out well.
Thank you. It did.
All right. Last one. This is a funny one. Would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader?
Oh, talking like Yoda. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's whimsical. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk like that?
Definitely so.
Perfect. All right. Well, once again, thank you, Ryan, for joining me today and talking about the Coastal Q4 Market Report. It was really great picking your brain.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam. It's been great.
Thank you so much. And then, Ryan, how can people contact you if they have questions or need help with real estate?
Oh, sure. My cell phone number is 704-999-1327. And my email is ryan@ijcoastal.com.
Perfect. All right. And if anyone wants more information about the firm, you can visit us at ivisterjackson.com. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.